Welcome to the Cloud Pod, where the forecast is always cloudy. We talk weekly about all things AWS, GCP, and Azure. We are your hosts,
Justin,
Jonathan,
Ryan,
and Peter.
Episode 207, recorded for April 5th, 2023. AWS puts up a new VPC Lattice to ease the growth of your connectivity. Good evening, Matt and Jonathan. How's it going?
Good. How you doing?
It's not Friday, so I'm kind of sad about that. And it's been kind of a long week already. So, just trying to make it through. This week.
Yeah, something's going on with this week because I swear everything's going sideways this week on me.
Q1 to Q2 pain. I don't really know what it is. But the fact that it's April kind of still blows my mind because I swear we just talked about Christmas and predictions and reInvent, and already it's April and we're a quarter in. I don't know where the time's going. Well, I do know that the cloud teams, except for Google, are developing a lot of features and capabilities. So let's get into it this week with AWS. First up, new self-service provisioning of Terraform open source configurations with AWS Service Catalog, which means you can now define your Service Catalog products and the resources with either CloudFormation or Terraform, and choose the tool that best aligns with your processes and expertise or doesn't have vendor lock-in. So you choose the one you want. This removes at least some of my personal resistance to Service Catalog, although then I went and looked at Google Service Catalog and they already supported Terraform, and I'm not using it in my day job with Google right now, so clearly not enough to make me move off this I don't like Service Catalog stance that I'll continue to have for a while. Interesting enough, it does allow you to basically execute Terraform code. It leverages IAM roles to basically handle your deployment, and you can use least privilege roles, which does take a lot of the thunder out of Terraform Cloud and enterprise capabilities if you're looking for some simple Terraform open source options. So maybe AWS will continue to expand on this, and how do you continue to manage state for your Terraform deploys, and just kill CloudFormation. Just nuke that from orbit and start over.
Yeah, but so many things use CloudFormation under the hood. How else are you going to launch your Elastic Beanstalk clusters?
I'm not going to, because Beanstalk's great until you find that sharp edge, and then it's real sharp.
I mean, can we define items in the Service Catalog using Terraform? Or can we just deploy things using the Service Catalog using Terraform?
Ooh, can you use Terraform to define your Service Catalog? And that's Terraform all the way down, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
Got a little bit of Terraform inception going on there.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think I'd ever use Service Catalog either, but I guess it's like an alternate way to restrict access to certain things. If you only let people deploy from the Service Catalog, it gets pretty easy to say you can only use this instance type, or you can only use this configuration of RDS or something else. So it's nice guardrails for people, but
it's useful when you want to give people that don't know what they're doing very specific things. So if you're in a large organization, really just defining exactly what people can do. And I've seen it used a couple times decently. It's the best I got with that. To actually help implement it with teams that don't know what they're doing. But to me, it really starts to remove a lot of the, really innovation that you let people kind of iterate over. So it's a good starting point. But if you really want your teams to leverage the cloud and innovate, I feel like it does start to limit some of the, different aspects of the cloud, because it's only the stuff that you've already built the catalog for.
Yeah, certainly a certain class of users who need something like this, but it would also be nice for people deploying things from the Service Catalog to be able to see that infrastructure as code, so they can take it, learn from it, and then do the next deployment sort of natively the next time.
Yeah, that'd be cool. This is really more for, I've always seen Service Catalog as an ITSM construct for IT shops who want to offer very cookie cutter services to their business. Where I work in SaaS, it doesn't make as much sense to me. That's part of the reason why I don't like it. But I think if you have the use case where this makes sense, I think it's awesome to have it. But don't drink the ITSM kool-aid on Service Catalog. I did just do some quick research here. Terraform does have resources for Service Catalog. So yes, you can create your AWS Service Catalog with Terraform to then publish Terraform. So inception can happen.
Excellent.
And the top is still spinning. AWS Supply Chain is now generally available, which allows you to mitigate risks and lower costs with increased visibility and actionable insights of your supply chain. For those of you who forgot what supply chain was, it was announced at reInvent, and so this is one of the many products now coming out GA. For those who forgot, it's a cloud application that mitigates risk and lowers costs with unified data, machine learning-powered actionable insights, and built-in contextual collaboration. And it's meant to connect to your existing ERP or supply chain management systems. The main features include a data lake using machine learning models that have been pre-trained for supply chains to understand, extract, or transform data. Real-time visual maps to see where your current inventory is in the world and the quantity and the health at each location. Provide you actionable insights, which are automatically generated for potential supply chain risks. Recommend actions to you, allow you to collaborate on your inventory and do demand planning. There are no required long-term contracts, but you do pay for all these things. So supply chain data lake storage is 28 cents per gigabyte per hour for the first 10 gigabytes. And greater than 10 gigabytes is 25 cents. So that's pretty expensive. Supply chain insights is the first 100,000 product SKU localization combinations will cost you 40 cents. The next 900,000 will be an additional 13 cents. And greater than that will cost you basically 6.5 cents. Supply chain data demand planning data usage is 30 cents for the first 100,000, 10 cents for the next 900,000, and 3.5 cents for everything over 1 million. But there is a free tier, guys, with 1,000 product SKU location combinations and 10 gigs of data storage in your free tier per month. So you can use 10 gigs of data for 1 hour and you start paying.
Probably not something I'm going to use, but what an awesome service to offer. This must be something that many companies have tried to solve over and over again. And this is the first time I've ever heard of like an integrated logistics product like this. It's pretty neat.
I mean, if I'm a retailer, I definitely want to give all of my logistics supply chain data to Amazon.
Oh, yeah.
No problem there at all. No concerns.
Only if you can actually figure out how the pricing works. Just sitting here trying to understand, the complexity of that pricing models with the, I know there are different services within the larger scope, larger service, but still the pricing there makes me just scratch my head going, okay, so what?
How is that different than any of the other AWS pricing?
Yeah, if you look at a lot of the other ones, I think I just have more experience with them. Or I just don't care as much about them. And I'm like, all right, let's just go and we'll deal with it. And we'll look back, day over day and figure it out.
Yeah. I will tell you right now, we will probably never, ever talk about supply chain again because none of us care about it in our day jobs. But mostly to make fun of the pricing, I wanted to come talk about it.
Yeah. It'd be interesting if you could optimize for different things. Optimizing for time delivery or optimizing for cost of transport, or in fact, optimizing for things like, least impact the environment. Stuff like that would be kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, they do have some really neat visualizations right now, looking through the blog post, which gives you a bunch of screenshots and, shows you different actionable insights, stock out type warnings. So I assume this is something they can add over time, more capabilities, like, the ability to rebalance on, inventory across warehouses and things like that you would want to do, of course, if you had a massive warehouse fleet that you want to maintain inventory for. So I can see, this getting more features over time, and I do expect that we'll see either an open sourcing of some of this capability or something that will continue to be cool and enable you to do more.
I'm actually surprised they don't have something more around perishable items, given Whole Foods and a lot of that type of stuff. There's a lot of issues with food. My family's in the meat industry for multiple generations, but getting product in, FIFO type queues, first in, first out, but getting that product out, making sure you don't buy more and all that type of stuff. So I'm surprised that's not built into phase one of some of these things, because I'm sure they have it.
That's interesting. I did laugh at the blog post though when I saw, if you click on the warehouse, it shows you kind of a 3D visualization of the map around your location, like just because that's really important. I guess somebody had to use that tool.
We had to use the 3D graphic engine somehow, right? So I like the fact that the collaboration is not with Chime. So that was my one fear when I saw collaboration. I was like, oh no, are they going to use Chime for this product? And it's all embedded right into the supply chain. So it's nice. You can come work right inside the console of this. All right. Well, one of the most exciting reInvent announcements is finally generally available, and that is the VPC Lattice. Lattice, which we talked about after reInvent, gives you a consistent way to connect, secure, and monitor communication between your services. And with VPC Lattice, you can define policies for network access, traffic management, and monitoring to connect compute services across instances, containers, or serverless applications. Since the preview was announced, they've added several new exciting capabilities, including the ability to use custom domains automatically. When using HTTPS, you can configure SSL and TLS certificates, so you can do man in the middle. You can deploy open source AWS Gateway API controllers to your VPC Lattice with the Kubernetes experience. It uses the Kubernetes Gateway API to let you connect services across multiple Kubernetes clusters and services running on EC2 containers and serverless. You can point to ALB or NLB as a target service, and it supports IP address target types of IPv6. So it's IPv6 compatible. Lattice has no charge for the first 300,000 requests every hour, and you only pay for requests above that threshold. The per hour pricing is basically 2.5 cents per hour and 2.5 cents per gigabyte and 10 cents per 1 million requests. So that's 3 dimensions that you have to calculate in your fancy calculator spreadsheet to try to figure this one out. Their examples of Lattice pricing hurt my brain just a little bit. So in their first example, they gave a service with low request rates in US East or North Virginia with associated of 100 services to it. And in a month, each service processes 100 gigabytes of data at 200,000 requests per hour. And so basically, they say the monthly side of this will be $1,825 per month, with monthly data processing charges of $250 a month, making your total bill $2,075 per month between your hourly charges and your data processing charges. But because you only had 200,000 requests, you didn't pay for those requests. So that's a low usage is 200,000 requests. I can't imagine what a high volume looks like. But pricing examples are in the blog article. You can check those out. If you're curious how to try to calculate across these 3 dimensions. And I always love these opaque things like how many requests does my web app use that I now have to figure out, which I never considered ever in my history of my life before this book.
Yeah, we talked about the viability of this being really revolving around what the cost model is going to look like, and it's not terrible. I mean, I guess you take out the cost of like private endpoints, or you take out the cost of VPC peering, things like that. So I guess there's a slight uplift on at least the per gig charge. Not terrible, but really, I mean, what a fantastic way to just make the constraints of networking just disappear. Been a long time coming. Super happy about it.
Agreed. And all of a sudden, GCP and Azure weep that we don't have something as good, unfortunately.
I mean, service mesh has always been very heavily Kubernetes oriented. And so this is, I mean, really, it's kind of like cross VPC, cross account service mesh that also lets you talk to non-containerized workloads.
Which is great. I mean, it was impossible to do it before this. So.
Yeah, the amount of time and energy I've spent over the years doing cross account, cross organization, peering, direct connects to handle VPNs, anything along those lines, that this solves a good chunk of those problems, pays for itself just in the engineering time, let alone, maintenance and all the other toil that goes with all these things. So I think that even though the pricing, is complex, I think it's definitely something that will get a lot of value out of real fast.
It's definitely pushing people down the microservices architecture path because these are HTTP requests only. So there's still, if you're still need networking for SQL Server access and other non-HTTP traffic, you're still going to have that other infrastructure in place. But hopefully people migrate away from that stuff.
There's a hope.
Yeah,
always a hope. Well, the Guard Duty now supports Amazon EKS runtime monitoring. This allows you to detect runtime threats from over 30 security findings to affect your EKS cluster. The new capabilities use a fully managed EKS add-on that adds visibility into individual container runtime activities such as file access, process execution, and network connectivity. Guard Duty can tell you specific containers within your EKS cluster that are potentially compromised and detect attempts to escalate privileges from an individual container to the underlying Amazon EC2 host and the broader AWS environment. Combining EKS runtime monitoring can be combined with audit log, gives you the optimal EKS protection of both the control plane and down to the individual pod container operating system level. So Guard Duty continues to get more powerful every day.
I don't know, got much to say about that really, other than are they competing with somebody else in the space, or is it just like just extra visibility into sort of internal logs and things?
I mean, there's a bunch of Kubernetes open source security tools out there. There's, of course, Palo Alto and what's the other one? Aqua Security, et cetera, that do container-based security. So there's a bunch of interesting competitive companies to these. But, is it a big market or not? I don't know. But it's nice to see it native to the platform for Kubernetes on AWS.
Yeah, it also helps the security story of like container rot over time, or somebody getting into a container and not cycling through them fast enough. So it helps the story of, look, we now have active monitoring there. And from a security perspective, it just adds a little bit more depth to your security. So you don't just have that top level, like, cool, we scanned the container, but this container's been running for 2 months because nothing's caused it to scale, or it's just one of one type of thing. So it does add that, extra level of security, which isn't a bad thing. And, you can really see that they're really trying to keep growing the guard duty platform to, start to support, not, the EBS release earlier this year, or I guess last year at this point. They're going more into EKS and containers and everything else. So I'm curious to see what else they continue to add on to the platform.
Sort of surprised me this wasn't saved for Reinforce, which I think is coming up pretty quickly. We're not tracking events this year like we did last year, mostly because it got old real quick.
I thought it's
But Reinforce is June 13th through the 14th, I think, in Anaheim. So, it was important enough they got it out now. But
hopefully that means there's good things coming at Reinforce.
Yeah, hopefully. Or it reinforces a total bust like it was last year, and we'll all make fun of it. So we'll work on the two ways. The pricing on this EKS runtime monitoring, by the way, is for the first 500 vCPUs per month is $1.50 per vCPU per month.
Ooh, ouch.
Yeah.
And then after the 500, it goes to 75 cents per vCPU, and over 5,000 vCPUs, it hits 25 cents per vCPU per month. So comparatively to Aqua and some of the other tools out there, maybe it's a good savings. Do your math and work it out before you buy.
Still pricey though. I mean, why charge per vCPU instead of per container or per workload?
Yeah, I don't know. Because what if you have like one container that you use in multiple pods and services? Like now you're paying for every vCPU versus just the one pod, one container image, which would have the same vulnerability across all of them. So it seems like a good way to goose the dollars for the bottom line.
I really do want to know how prevalent things like people breaking into containers and running, cryptocurrency mining actually is, or whether it's just one of these, we need to appease this intangible risk that the security people think exists.
I would think it's...
Yeah, I'm not really sure.
I would think it's less of that, or more of like, hey, there's a vulnerability in this package that got, exploited. You're still working on building a new container, getting into production. So now we know that at least this container's been compromised. Let's kill it, let it reload, type of thing, with at least a new container that is not compromised. That's kind of at least the story I've always thought was more like, okay, something happened to the container. Let's just destroy it and let it rebuild, more so than someone's crypto mining. But let's be honest, people use GitHub Actions to crypto mine. So, there's a way to crypto mine at this point.
Yeah, I guess if during build time you weren't aware of a vulnerability in a package and you built it into the container.
Yeah.
I guess with update information, you could verify that at runtime. That's reasonable.
Like the most recent OpenSSL and having to get that patched out there, if that happened to come up, you at least know that it's there. Maybe you're still building your package so you can, know to cycle through these more often or anything along those lines.
Have you been waiting months and months to hire your new AWS, GCP, or Azure architect, only to have them be poached at the 11th hour by a startup with a juice bar? Initiatives stalled because you're having trouble hiring? Well, I have a simple solution: Foghorn Consulting. Foghorn Consulting provides top-notch cloud engineers to the world's most innovative companies and can be burning down your DevOps and cloud backlogs as soon as next week. Foghorn certified AWS, GCP, and Azure professionals are armed with infrastructure as code, and from day one will be designing performant, optimized cloud-native or hybrid environments that deliver on the promise of cloud. Their FogOps solution even provides on-demand cloud engineering to augment your existing teams. Visit www.foghornconsulting.com or send an email to cloudtalentnow@foghornconsulting.com and tell them the CloudPod sent you. Your dedicated FogOps team is with you for the long haul, and they bring their own juice.
All right. AWS Data Sync now supports copying data from Azure Blob storage, which, if you remember, we talked about how unique it was that Azure had a tool called AZ Copy that allowed you to copy data from S3 to Azure Blob. And now you can set up a really cool loop where you have your AWS Data Sync take your Blob data, and then your Blob Sync take the data back from S3, and that's how you can burn a lot of money really quickly. So in egress charges as well as data storage charges. So do be careful with these, but nice to see that there's some us too behavior happening between AWS saying, Azure is trying to take our business. We're going to take your business too. Here's a tool. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great migration path tool for companies looking to shift clouds or shift workloads to other clouds, and they both have it now. So at least there's options of how to move that data. But like you said, egress costs get real expensive real fast.
And make a good backup solution too, I guess. Back it up in a different region,
In a different cloud.
different cloud provider. Yeah, different cloud.
Yeah, it helps you with your all of your concern about ransomware potentially.
Unless if you've copied the ransomware, the encrypted files.
Hey,
don't think too far. Sorry, went too far.
don't think about it too much. Don't think about it too much, because these are conversations that I have to have all the time with security people. So you want a system that'll take the data and put it somewhere else, but how do you prevent the ransomware from going with the data? They never really think it through. But on surface, they checked a box, so we don't want to burst those bubbles. So. Pretty slow week for GCP. They do have this blog article where they basically say what's new with Google Cloud this week, and they had 2 things for this week. Neither one of them really that new. But I did see one here that apparently at the Data Cloud and AI Summit last week, they did introduce the new Looker Modeler. There's no blog post to link to for this, but apparently the Looker Modeler is a single source of truth for BI metrics. The Looker Modeler organization can benefit from consistent governed metrics that define data relationships and progress against business priorities and consume them in BI tools such as Connected Sheets, Looker Studio Pro, Microsoft Power BI, Tableau, and ThoughtSpot. Because everyone's using ThoughtSpot. That's one I would have mentioned. So there you go. I don't have anything else to say about that, but apparently it happened. But no, maybe we'll get a press release next week. I'll let you know more. Keep you posted. But otherwise, there's no news, so we had to talk about something for GCP. Moving on to Azure, announcing Azure Firewall enhancements for troubleshooting network performance and traffic visibility. The new logging and metric enhancements increase the visibility and provide more insights into traffic processed by the firewall. IT security administration may use a combination of the following to root cause app performance issues, including a latency probe metric, a flow trace log, and a fat flows log. Why you got to be all judgy like that, Azure? Of course, Azure Firewall is a cloud-native firewall as a service, so I don't want any of those things. I like you just to provide that to me in a dashboard or security tool that would tell me these things are broken. But instead, you're going to let me charge a bunch of money to use these other 3 tools. So thanks for that. Appreciate it, I guess. But I prefer not worrying about this in my cloud. Thanks.
I like the visibility.
That's literally what I was going to say.
But I don't want to have to worry about it. I don't want to have to worry about this stuff.
Yeah, I want to see it when somebody says, "Oh, it has to be the Azure managed firewall. It's causing the problem." And I like the data to show them that no, it's not. But honestly, I just want my cloud to work, and I don't want to think about it. And you guys have Defender technology that'll give me active insights that I need to actually alert and worry about on my firewall, and the rest of it's just prove everyone else that it's not the firewall, I guess.
Yeah, I guess more so than that, though. If you have anomalous activity, things like fat flows are useful because it basically ranks lists the flows by highest throughput through the device, through the firewall. So if all of a sudden you have these flows which are shipping way more data than you ever expected based on historical usage, you have a good idea that something's amiss.
Apparently, they're moving away from the fat flows. And trying to say the top flows log, or industry known as fat flows log, shows the top connections that are contributed to the highest bandwidth in a given time frame through the firewall. So apparently they're trying to move away from fat flows, but they still have it here. So.
Portly flows.
Top flows, which doesn't sound great either. Anytime you're using flows as a verb, in this case, it's a little weird. So
like heavy flows. That's even worse.
Yeah, that's what I was trying not to say, but Thanks, Jonathan. I appreciate that.
Yep. Well, I got to learn what fat flows / top flows were today because I've never heard that terminology in the past. But no, you guys have.
I've looked for that data many times in the past. I didn't know how to name. So now I know what to Google for at least.
Half the battle.
How do I check that? Because that's one of those things you always run to is hey, my firewall's overloaded, or your data, your SAN is overloaded on a port, and you're like, well, I want to know what the most active connection is in this period of time, and now I know I should be Googling for fat flows apparently. So.
Yeah, Okay.
I was going to say, the fun thing about all this is you still have to understand the whole KQL language to really dive in and get all the data out, because it looks like it's not like in a nice, easy dashboard. You still have to like write the KQL in order to get all that data. And KQL, from my daytime job experience, is not the easiest language to fully pick up quickly. And I wouldn't expect a off-the-shelf network administrator who's trying to configure a firewall for the first time to Azure to really fully understand KQL and to be able to dive into these logs that easily.
Yeah, I didn't notice that in the screenshot. It's KQL. That's awful. That's awful.
I mean, it really needs to be tied into some of the security products. But I will say that the trace logs, the trace flows are super nice. Even though you need to use KQL to pull them out, but it's really nice because you can avoid having to deploy Wireshark onto a Windows server just to troubleshoot something, when you can just do the entire capture through the virtual firewall.
Well, maybe this is building blocks of something bigger from Azure. So start somewhere, and then give me a nice dashboard and automation and AI with all your Chat GPT stuff. What I should actually hear about. So, by the way, there was an Azure AI announcement today that I ejected from the show notes because I was like, nope, we're not talking about it again. It was as good as last one. Last week we were saying, hey, we support third-party companies. It was at that level again. So I said no. I rejected it.
The plugins. Yeah, that's actually a pretty decent feature, but don't need to talk about it.
Exactly. All right. And then our last Azure story is the DDoS IP protection is now, I believe, exiting preview into general availability. This new SKU, which I know Jonathan loves, of Azure DDoS protection allows you to meet all of your small business needs. There are several key features of DDoS in general at Azure, including massive mitigation capacity and scale, protection against attack vectors, native integration into the portal, seamless protection, adaptive tuning, and everything that I want that firewall thing to do, automated, and integration directly into Microsoft Sentinel and Microsoft Defender for cloud. But the big difference for small business, if you were wanting to know like what you're getting or not getting, you're not going to get the rapid response support. So you're on your own when the DDoS hits, which is always a great way to feel like you have no vendor to help you. Cost protections and WAF discounts are all not included. Now, the thing about this one, I think we talked about this last time, is that if you have a DDoS attack that happens to ramp up your network traffic and IOs and all these things, and that's now costing you a lot of money, that whatever you're potentially saving on IP protection, you're probably going to lose when the DDoS actually happens because you didn't have cost protection or a WAF discount. So really consider this one. You must be a real small business that doesn't need a lot to take advantage of this versus just paying a little bit extra for the network version, in my opinion.
Yeah, and the network version also, if you have multiple regions or anything else, like I've done this cost analysis before, really quickly, adds up, because by the time you include the WAF discount, which is in there, it brings you from the premium tier of like application firewall down to like the normal tier pricing. If you have this, really starts to add up quickly. And also it will protect your whole VNet, so you don't have to deal with, okay, only these couple IP addresses are protected versus, everything in your VNet, you just attach it and you're done. So between just the WAF discount and the rapid response, and then just everything in your VNet and not having to think about it, it definitely makes sense to look at the higher tier rather early, and it's just a flat fee at that point.
This is why we brought Matt on the show, because he's got an Azure experience.
I've had to deal with this pain before.
Yeah. But yeah, it makes logical sense. Like between cost protection and your WAF discount, that you really have to have a small workload that doesn't really need a lot of protections. Which then you had to ask the question: do I really need DDoS protection, or am I just checking a box for some compliance reason?
It's mainly that checking of the box, I feel like, at that point, or you're a really small business that just wants to have that or has been attacked before. It's the only other thing I can think of. You've been hit before by DDoS. And you just want to throw something up quickly.
I can tell you, if I hosted the CloudPod website there, I would want the network one. I wouldn't want just the free one, because I've seen all the traffic that the WAF removes from our site. There's a lot of bots out there. There's a lot of crap that just tries to scan the internet constantly that we filter out with AWS. So thanks, AWS. We appreciate it.
You could go from $200 to like $2,000, for the first 100. So it's a big price difference, but adds up quick. But if you have multiple things, it just gets really knocked down really fast.
Yeah. Scale brings discounts, right? And this is one of those opportunities where your scale is now driving you to a different tier that gives you other benefits. So, the ultra premium DDoS experience I'm looking forward to in the future, though. So, all right. Well, this is where we talk about Cloud Journey, and we're still in the middle of our Cloud Native series. But this week was going to be about Kubernetes, and since we couldn't get Ryan out of bed, we decided that we should try to skip it this week. And so we're gonna wait. We're gonna wait for Kubernetes until next week. And if you'd like to complain about it, you can reach Ryan on Twitter at Ryron01. That's RYRON01. And you can complain to him that he wasn't here today. Or you can email him directly at ryan@thecloudpod.net. Just saying. If you wanted to complain. Or on the Slack channel even. You could, lots of ways you can complain at Ryan, which he loves. So you definitely make sure you do that. That's it for this week, guys. Have a great week, I guess, ahead. And hopefully it ends soon, because Wednesday feels like it should be Friday already.
Have a good one, guys.
Have a good night.
And that is the Week in Cloud. We'd like to thank our sponsor, Foghorn Consulting. Subscribe on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts, and tweet us your feedback at #TheCloudPod. Or join our Slack channel. Go to our website, thecloudpod.net, for sign-up instructions.